Welcome, everyone. I'm Laurie Dennis, Assistant Director at the Center for East Asian Studies. Today's event is part of our center's fall semester lecture series, funded through our federal grant as a Title VI National Resource Center. We are holding a combination of live and online events this semester to try to keep everyone on their toes. Our next event will actually conclude the fall semester offerings, and this will be in 2 weeks, an in-person event on Tuesday, November 29th in Ingram Hall, which will feature historian Melissa McCauley of Northwestern with the title, Distant Shores, Colonial Encounters on China's Maritime Frontier. You can find the latest on all of our events through our Facebook page at UW-CEAS, and you can also sign up for our Monday newsletter at the bottom of our homepage, eastasia.wis.edu. And this lecture will be part of our YouTube page, which I'm about to put a link up for that as well. So those are ways you can keep up with our events at the Center for East Asian Studies. And now I want to turn things over to Professor Zhang to introduce today's speaker.
All right, hello everybody, and 老师们你们好. So this is a very busy time for everybody during the semester. So we are very grateful that you take out 1 hour out of your time today to join us and to have a discussion on teaching classical Chinese stories in Chinese language classrooms. So Laurie and I, we invited Dr. Sun 老师, Sun Jinai 教授 from North Central College to give us a lecture on this theme. So Sun 老师 is not only a professor from North Central College, she is also the principal of 瑞华中文学校, so Rui Chinese School, which is the biggest Chinese school in Midwest areas. So Sun 老师 has a lot of valuable and successful experience of using classical Chinese literatures in her Chinese language class, and also the Chinese programs she leads in the communities, such as Startalk programs and the program in the Chinese schools. So today, let's just welcome Sun 老师 to share her experience, reflections, and also we invite you to share your thoughts and questions during the seminar so that we can ask Professor Sun to have an interaction with everybody during the Q&A session. 好，谢谢大家。
Thank you very much, Tianlu and Laurie, for your introduction. Also, big thanks to the Asian Studies Center at the University of Wisconsin-Madison for this wonderful opportunity. It's my great pleasure to be presenting today on the research and the teaching project I have been working on for so many years now, on using Chinese classic novels and stories as a bridge to language and the intercultural competence. Today, especially, I will be offering 2 specific lesson samples. The stories from The Dream of the Red Chamber, 红楼梦, and The Journey to the West, 西游记. And today, my focus actually is not only about the language teaching. So those lesson structures and lesson plans can be taught by English or Chinese, depends on your teaching context and your learning outcomes. So before I turn to the examples, I would love to start to share some background on how I put these model lessons together. Meanwhile, I want to invite you all to really start to think why we should teach intercultural communication skills and the language through the classical Chinese literature and novel and stories. So begin with that. I want to share some background of my research and teaching. I start from 2019 through the sponsorship of the Asian Network grant. I started to lead the trip to study Hong Lou Meng with 6 other American students and an American professor who also teaches literature in college. So we lead the trip to design the curriculum and take students to Beijing, Nanjing, and Hangzhou to study Hong Lou Meng with the college professors, scholars, especially in Cao Xueqin Study Center in Beijing. And all the experience, all our data have been collected in the article published 2020. This article is in Chinese. We use an experiential learning model to showcase the students' experience through their trips and all kinds of hands-on activities in China. So if you are very interested, later on I will share the link to the website. And we design all the materials, slides, student presentations, photos, all on the website. So before the trip, we had 10 seminars, and after trips, we have students interviews with some scholars who are teaching in America in different fields like literature, philosophies, religions, especially the professors who have been teaching Hong Lou Meng in college or universities. For example, Charles Egan from San Francisco State. So also Tina Liu from Yale University, she also published a book about all the teaching methods regarding Hong Lou Meng. So this is for me the start to collect all the data experience. Then I started to design the 2 courses in my college. So one is in Chinese for the advanced level student to study Hong Lou Meng, but only for 2 weeks. I use the short stories I will show you later on. But also another 2 Chinese novels class, all in English. This is a 1 semester course in English to teach both Xi You Ji and Hong Lou Meng. And based on that experience and teaching the students' feedback, we started to design the summer intensive program with the theme and more hands-on activities, cultural experience about Hong Lou Meng. For example, like Dai Yu Zhang Hua, I can see students use tree mo, the blood ink to make the book markers. And also you can see role plays, and they made the flowers with the fruits, but more like symbols of the Chinese culture. So this was a great experience I had with some high school Chinese teachers, and also from the community weekend schools, and also students in program and the teacher program integrate together. So this was very valuable experience for me to start to share all my teaching experience with more teachers. So ever since then, I have been working on using the students' learning experience, but to connect with the community engaged learning. For example, we take students to Ray Chinese School to share their understanding and discuss with the Chinese native speakers, parents, heritage students, and teachers in school. So also this semester, my research partners, they have been developing more courses online for the Chinese students, college students, and American students to work together. So give a little more, so this is all the experience I collected and published in the one book published by, actually it's going to be published in a couple months, but I finished a book chapter with my research partner about using transdisciplinary approach, especially using translanguaging theoretical framework to understand how to collaborate with different content experts when we design this kind of classic Chinese literature courses. And also from this book chapter, we start to develop more teaching materials. Hopefully, we can collect all our teaching materials, lesson plans, and to share with the Chinese language teachers, content experts regarding using Chinese classic stories to teach in language and ICC. So three of us are Professor Xiang Xuehua, Dr. Ye Li. We have been collecting our own teaching experience and all the lesson plans together to use those specific lesson plan to make the handbook, hopefully to share with the teacher in a year. So it's an ongoing project. Okay, this is the background for all this experience I had. Today, like I said, I want to first really invite you all start to think, why should we use classic Chinese novels and stories in our language and culture classroom, right? So I have been collecting all the theories and data and these four reasons I think I want to go through with you. Well, you can resonate on your own answer. So as we all know, Chinese classic novels are popular. So they are they are known by, I would say, most of the native speakers. So that means they speak to Chinese, to their heart. At the same time, conveys and pass down our culture DNA, which could be valuable culture capital for our students to get and share and use as a platform to communicate, to learn, to get more insights about Chinese culture, which means we may teach some like a very abstract concept. However, those stories give us very vivid examples, right? And also as you all may know, just a lot of authentic materials, a lot of multimedia materials we could use from movies, from even just college entrance exams. So nowadays they require the 全本阅读 of 红楼梦, not only just the stories, but the whole 5 volumes of the 红楼梦. So, so as you can see, a lot of authentic, good quality materials could be used in our classroom, from movie, TV shows to a lot of pop culture visual aids we could definitely use and activities. Okay, last one, I think this is very unique for our Chinese culture literature, Chinese classic literature, which means we call it 章回小说. Usually, as we can see, the Western literature, so many of them, French, Spanish, and all those great books, you can see is the volumes, and they have the climax. Usually, just you couldn't really just one chapter you could understand what's happening. However, the Chinese 章回小说, especially the 古典小说, based on the storytelling. So that means that each chapter could stand alone and also engaging. However, they're all connected if you want to read the whole book, and they are well connected. So again, it's very flexible, very engaging for the student to read. So I believe you also have your own reasons. Feel free to share with us later on in the chat. And also I'm going to share a survey form for us to start to have more conversations about using these authentic materials. Those are valuable and meaningful, which passed down and also canvas the great Chinese values for us to use. Okay, so again, my topic is regarding using authentic and classic Chinese novels, stories to teach in interculturality, which the core is the culture. So I want to then invite you to think about the second question. What's your definition of culture? So as world language teachers and educators, we all know Active Fall gave us the standard, which we usually use 3 Ps to understand, right? However, I have been comparing so many definitions from the different disciplines. I really like what Yu Qiuyu recently published the book in his book in 中华文化课. He used 31 characters to portray to get the essence of the understanding. I try my best. Again, I feel free to offer your suggestions on how to better translate all this his definition. So, as we know, culture is if we analyze or boil down to the essential elements, they are spiritual values and the ways of life. However, it become the customs in our tradition, right? And Yu Qiuyu also extended to another P, which based on culture practice, culture product, culture product perspectives practice, right? So 3P. So I feel he extended it to another P, which means people. So the ideal personality, for example, different cultures trying to cultivate like in British or Western culture, probably, for example, we can think about gentleman, which translation could be like a 绅士, right? However, we are thinking about for maybe Chinese culture, we also loosely translate into gentleman. However, the Chinese term is 君子. So he started to extend this concept to what's the ideal personality, 集体人格 we are trying to cultivate is the ending goal. Okay, so given this route, I want to then extend to today we are going to use the term interculturality. So we are very familiar with intercultural communication competence, right? ICC. According to Active Fall, American Foreign Language Association, so the definition is ICC is using the language skills and the cultural knowledge and understanding, right? However, to interact, so effectively interact. So that means that you can see it's a competence, it's a 能力. However, as we all know, this term is very hard to evaluate, which means once we talk about competence, we may start with the concept. This is why in my presentation. And also this term is getting more popular, which is interculturality, which we could see is as a standing point, start to get to ICC. Is a kind of prerequisite, which here the definition I try to get from a couple of the papers. I think one of the June 2014, he used the definition. Interculturality refers to the process where people with different culture identities learn from each other and mediate between different perspectives. Okay, so the reason I think this is so important because intercultural communication or cross-cultural communication, usually you can see two cultures like a contrast. We see more differences. However, interculturality, which sees two cultures, like cultures is fluid, is transferable, and then you can see there's a third space. Usually we are trying to reach to each other, which is not only just my culture or your culture. So it's a more like a fluid status. So this is what I'm trying to use this term with the interculturality, which here I gave a little bit more definition. You can see it as the way we are cultivating open-minded people, students, and so the specific elements could be start from here. So open attitude towards cultural differences, and also tolerance to accommodate the different values or behavior of others. So you can see from the mindset, open-minded mindset, tolerance, empathy, and these basic terms will help us to start to engage in ICC, which could be later on we could start to focus on more competence, the 能力. But however, we need to start from the basic concept, which can help students to understand the appropriation for the culture. So this will be the first point I really want to focus on for you to understand the term between ICC and interculturality. Okay, so then the second point for this model I want to offer is when we talk about interculturality, we can start to, as the educator or language instructor, language culture instructor, we could start to help students to open the window to see the new culture, to see the new world. However, meantime, according to Bishop in 1990, what we can at the same time guide the students and start to reflect on their own culture and also interact, which the next step is using the metaphor of a gliding door, and you open the door, start to interact, start to take actions. So if we use this model, the theory to understand that, based on this, I can start to offer the teaching samples, which first one is 红楼梦之黛玉进贾府. So again, this samples, the two samples I'm going to offer, not only for language teachers, and you can adapt to your what literature or other classes which want which could use literature stories of China. So start from the introduction part for the each stories or novel. I usually start to have this approach, which we call it explicit teaching, which I learned from 法国汉学家白乐桑. So he shared the framework to teach the big culture products through the pillars for the students to understand. As educator teachers, we should start to understand what are the pillars, the columns for students to understand a certain product. For example, when I start to introduce, okay, 红楼梦 is one of the most important 4 classic story novels. Immediately got student attention through this definition. Student, oh, the greatest. I really want to read the book. So teachers should start to understand, right? So there was from the book that you can understand from the 介绍 introduction to 家族小说. So it's about clan, family, and the love story, and the youth, and also the book talk about the meaning of life. So start from the touching stone of this definition, and I gave them the story to read about 贾宝玉、林黛玉、文黛玉进贾府. So as you can see, then immediately give students the picture, the videos, clips to watch at home and in class again to understand, observe the behaviors. For example, this one is the table manners, which is the formality through the influence of the Confucius society. So when you compare this critical moment, the seating culture in America, I think this was the moment America embassy was under attack. So when you see the American seating culture, so you couldn't really see who is a decision maker, right? And versus the West, we will need to be aware where to sit, what is the proper way to behave more or less towards modern society as well. This is so due to the time limit, and I want to just use that example, start to bring students' attention to see the new culture, open the window. And also I use the same story to use another approach, which we call the culture core concept, 文化核心词, to use explicit teaching in our culture class. So, for example, this story when 宝玉 and 黛玉 they met each other. In the East, or most of the readers, I think most of you are already familiarized with this story. 宝玉 at first sight, he said, you know, 这个妹妹我见过. So I've ever seen her before, right? And which you can use to compare the Western way when we say 一见钟情. So which concept we may start to think to understand, compare that use this story specifically. We know 宝玉 and 黛玉, they had the previous life connection, which means he was the rock who watered the grass through the dews, right? So there's a fate or commitment or relation, responsibility, which through the Buddhism lens you can see is she came to this life to return. More connection from the just the Western way, probably just chemistry, very individual psychological feeling, and which means it could be attachment, which means like someone attracted to you, right? So so if we start from here, right? Then more introduction we could bring to the students to understand this culture concept, which is qing, which is we talk about Hong Lou Meng itself is a book of qing. You can see a lot of homophone, like a qinggengfeng, like a peak of qing, the qingbang, like a demonstration, all the kind of the love, relationship, romantic love, and in this book, right? And also 情可亲，情不情，情可亲，然后情文很多的a lot of the hidden the homophone hidden meaning there. But more important than we start from and let the students understand a lot of more in-depth meaning behind it, and then as a native speaker, actually we could think, oh, 情 itself, so many definitions, right? And start from could be feeling, emotion, and Anthony Yu translated it to desire as well. And also you can see we say 情况 or 性情 could be something like a genuine or something the starting status. So you can see that this is 情 itself has so many lenses we could see from Confucius perspective, from the Buddhism perspective, and definitely Taoism is another approach I will share. So I will say this example, then later on you can start to develop students' understanding about this love triangle between 宝玉 and 黛玉, the 宝钗. So I think of this, my students really, I think something they feel connected when you identify two different girls' personality. This is a very proactive 宝钗 versus 黛玉is very sensitive, however, who is very genuine, right? And 宝钗 always push 宝玉 to go to do exams, civil exams, right? Which is a big support of his Confucius role, society's role, right? So given that, just a lot of comparison, and the students can make connection who you want to be, right? Who you want to marry, right? So a lot of good conversations. And another thing is then after they understand the relationship, and one angle we can get is the 葬花吟, which I think the poetry is a really powerful tool for American students to start to see something very different from the Western culture. It's a Western poetry, definitely it also exists, and also people use, but a lot of less social functions than and also emotion, and also the requirement when you produce a poem. So for example, after students study 黛玉葬花, so they use the concept devices to make all the poems to understand all the components, from the rhymes, or from the even you need to use certain symbols, but then very direct expression way, so they can you use this 黛玉葬花 as image, so you can share with them, this is like the prototype of Chinese way to see a beauty, when we versus probably the West, who they will see as some female representative, right? And this is the 五言绝句, the ballad students made during the pandemic time. I asked them to use what we learned from the class and to express their own feeling and use the requirement when do the 五言绝句. So yeah, I think at least let them to start to appreciate, let them to really reflect and make connections, and always really the first step, and for them to step into more in depth in later on. So I want to use the last 5 minutes to share another story sample, which is from 西游记. So as we all know, as a Chinese native speaker, probably we all know 三打白骨精, right? Loose translation is three bouts of the white demons, the white demon. So you can see from the posters, the 1986, the poster, you can see is the best representative or presentation of the novel itself. It's a collective work. It's a teamwork. When you go to Gas Sutra in the West, you can see the 4 people that equally like same, but then again, Tang Song probably in the center, right? However, when they adapted to the Hollywood movie style movie, is more like Sun Wukong is a superhero who saved Tang Song, right? However, if we start to tell the story, and so the teacher, everyone can start to reflect on your own learning experience. What do you think this story really tells us? And what kind of message we really get, or the moral meaning, values, or anything you think you can get from 三打白骨精, right? And then I wanted to share quickly with what I try to use 三打白骨精 to teach language and the ICC skill. So especially the interculturality in terms of the open mindset, the tolerance, appreciation of other perspectives. So which I specifically use the classroom activity, which is a dramatic inquiry. After we started the story together, and probably students, again, when we teach this kind of the classic stories, we need a lot of pre-reading preparation to which I wrote in the book. Is a lot of more introduction, however, probably in students' home language, for them to understand more in depth. However, in class, I only speak Chinese and give them the essence of the introduction, review, and reinforce their learning. So this activity I learned from our education professor. I learned from her approach. Then I came to this room after students understand the movie, right? Understand the story 3 times. 白骨精, the white bone demon transformed into the demons, the regular person's forms. So, but Sun Wukong, however, beat them to death, right? So as you all know. So again, Tang Song got mad and let Sun Wukong to leave, right? So in the class, I sit in the center of the circle, ask my students to be all the Sun Wukong, persuade me. The key activities persuade me to let them to stay with the team, right? However, before that, more preparation, like how do you feel now after we watch the scene of the movie? And before that, we finished the story. The student had some basic understanding of the story itself. So then students can connect themselves and make sure, they make the emotion connections and put themselves into Sun Wukong's shoes, right? So they can connect with their own experience, and later on what they can start to expand their understanding about different perspectives. So for example, I use this scene and to start to let the students understand we all have different perspectives. So when Sun Wukong beat the demon, in his world, it's just either wrong, right, 非黑即白. His world is, if it's a demon, just need to be died, right? And so just the other way is versus Tang Seng. You can see the Tang Seng need to see the world like a 渡人. So always try to bring people to be the good people, right? So to transform and to bring people to the other side in terms of the Buddhism concept, which is the other bank, right? So you can see there are conflicts of the value. However, the story itself gave a lot of very dramatic and seeing a dramatic feeling for the students to connect. So all these students feedback and collected data, they really see this as powerful approach. And the last part I wanted to really share with and summarize as well. My conclusion and the reflection was the past 4 years, almost 5 years of using classic literature in the classroom in different contexts. I will say those stories, classic story literature, are very valuable media. Even, I think our point is not trying to, if they could read the whole book, the 5 volumes or the whole book, 西游记, it's perfect, right? However, most of the time, student may not, but at least they could use this as the culture capital. Start to communicate with Chinese, start to open the door, see other cultures, and through a very engaging way. And that's what I'm trying to make the point to is I really think this is the key. How to guide the students open the book in a more accurate or more effective way. I see so many people try to read Hong Long Meng, however, couldn't really pass the first 2 chapters. Again, that's make this a great book. So many layers. They had the myth is through 女娲补天, then start from the outsiders, talk about the 贾府. So many layers. Students, by chapter 3, 代语境贾府, they just totally got lost. What could be, what they are doing? And my students started to read, and they shared a feeling like the small talk. As for us, maybe just very, very common, but for them, like the 2 pages, they were just having a small talk. What's the point, right? So you can see from their observation, and then more important, help them to understand, start to know what are the differences, but our job is really helping them to understand more, like why so. Okay, so I think I will stop here. So I think we exactly have 15 minutes by the end. I think I should open to the questions. And meantime, Tianlu, if you can start to share the link.
Okay. Yes.
This survey, I'm trying to get other teachers, any people who are interested in this research topic. I would love to share more materials with you, lesson plan, more ideas, but also at the same time, I want to see your suggestions, comments, and if you would love to share, will be great. And I would send information after I collected all your comments, questions. Okay.
Right.
Okay, first, I think I saw one question. I think maybe everyone get ready.
So Ethan has a question. So Sun Lao Shi, if you want to answer that, right?
Okay. So I think the first one is Ethan Hurley. In terms of conceptual difficulty and cultural relevance, when it comes to classic stories, do you think that certain stories should be read prior to reading others? Yeah, I would say definitely. This will be really depending on your teaching context. If you're in high school or if you're in college, you probably have a different age appropriate questions, themes, topics for the students to use. For example, in our summer Start Talk program, high school teachers start to use like a 三国, specifically I would say 赤壁, because there's a very good movie you can use, made by the producer. Oh, 叫什么来的? Yeah. So anyway, so 吴承no 吴什么 yeah 就在耳边 yeah but then
吴宇森
yeah 吴承恩去了 yeah 吴宇森 so that one I think my student liked it, and high school teachers started to develop the teaching materials by through the story 草船借箭. I think it's I really liked that lesson plan, which theme is helping American students to see the Chinese way to think out of the box, right? So it's a lot of strategies in that story. I really think it depends on the student's age. What kind of stories, values, and content probably will engage them. I personally use 红楼梦 and 西游记 more often than, but I think I observed a teacher to teach 武松打虎 as well. That could be another, I think, interesting story for maybe younger kids to understand. However, again, I think this is a conversation I had with Tianlu earlier. How to really prepare our readers, our students, is a key as well, which means American students could see it's very brutal. Why you just beat a tiger, right? However, you probably need to lay out all the context for them to understand more meaning, for them to understand this is the way to contrast how brave maybe Wu Song is, and also the wild tiger ate people, and that kind of the pre-reading study preparation, I think, is important. Yeah, so make the long answer short is I think yeah, you're right, absolutely right. And even the story itself, the stories themselves, and for Chinese, there are some stories we are very familiarized, we like, and certain story probably is just less important or not don't have a lot of attention, right? Okay, I think probably, I mean, it's possible to give the lecturing chance directly.
Right, so Sun Lao Shi, we have another question from maybe Zhai Lao Shi. Yes, Zhai Lao Shi raised her hand. So Laurie, can Zhai Lao Shi unmute herself and ask? Or 孙老师，你能看到他的问题吗？
我看不见在哪儿呢？
哦， Okay. So 翟老师, yeah. Yeah, 翟老师, I think you can ask your question directly to Sun 老师.
Oh, here it's open. There are 3 categories, right? Sorry, I missed the beginning part. I wonder if you used the original books of the read. Yeah, in my 2 novel class, it's English class for the students to read the book. So that one I read David Hawkes, his translation. So are the students able to read the classical Chinese without any English translation? I saw from your slides that once you display the original version. Yeah, you are absolutely right. I think that's why I at the beginning I mentioned I use this authentic materials mainly for interculturality purpose, which means to enhance their cultural understanding. Although I use some like a very short excerpt from the original text, but that purpose is only for the students to start to see or appreciate the classic Chinese. But I don't really use the original text in my Chinese advanced level class. I only use the essays, the 5 paragraph essays for them to read, and also the stories, the short stories in the children's book, that kind of the style. So yeah, I use those authentic tasks, authentic materials in different way. I didn't really use all the original text at all. So that's make long story short. Okay, so next one, dismissed, open. The translation somewhat diverge from their original meaning in Chinese, making it harder to grasp a certain concept from a non-foreign perspective. Yeah, it's a very, very good question, Ethan. So I want to read this again. Do you think that the translation of this work somehow diverged from their original meanings in Chinese, making it harder to grasp certain concepts from non-foreign perspectives? To be honest, I will say yes and no. For example, when I use the David Hawkes version, I definitely see a lot of understanding or his translation skills in the English version. For example, I don't know if you remember 怡红快绿怡红院. So for example, 那个贾宝玉的mansion, 贾宝玉的房间叫怡红院. So David Hawkes used the translation as delight greenhouse. So his explanation is that red in the West has more negative feeling. So even the book itself, he translated as the story of the stone instead of the dream in the red chamber, right? So he avoided using a lot of red, this word, in his translation. Yeah, but more than the translation of the terms, I think he used the translation, the approach to express the meaning, express the feeling, connect well with the Western readers themselves. Yeah, like the poetry, the translation into English. Yeah, I didn't really compare word to word, but when I read it, I feel it's definitely could convey the meaning in a more accurate or authentic way. So, but this is also the point that when we talk about using ICCs, I have been really reflecting when American students or even American scholars are reading 红楼梦, if that's something really the same as when Chinese reading 红楼梦, even the translation is perfect, right? So this will again get back to the point or the theoretical framework I'm trying to use here. Is we always maybe have the third place when we talk about learning another culture, and the identity is fluid. If we really could get to the other culture, it's really need a lot of like a teacher's guide, explicit teaching, and then reflection, application, interaction with the Chinese. I think, yeah, to wrap up this seminar, I want to really share my experience, and I think most of the valuable lessons I took was through teaching the classic stories, novels, I started to learn a lot more about Chinese religion, Chinese culture, Chinese philosophies, which helped me to understand myself the most. And I think the same as this could use as the platform for American students to really reflect and start to have more connection, use as a cultural capital, the platform, again, to communicate with Chinese, to be able to really interact, and then again, get back to their reflection. It's a lifelong learning journey. Okay, thank you so much. I think yeah, I think it's pretty much that's all. And thank you all for coming. And I really think what we are doing is a very meaningful work. And I have been talking to the other teachers. We are peacemaker, actually. We are trying to help Americans to understand the Chinese mindset, and trying to bring our culture, our identity for others to really communicate and to share, to understand, to be able to have a mutual understanding between each other through classic novel stories, which are valuable resource for us. Okay, thank you so much. Again, thank you, Laurie and Dr. Zhang, and thank you again for this opportunity to start to have the conversation. Again, this my very limited experience. This is a lifelong journey. I really want to teach more often similar topics, but with different approaches. And your contribution, your comments, your suggestions definitely are very valuable. Okay.
May I ask quickly one question? Will you be running a travel trip, a Hong Kong student trip again anytime in the future?
It depends.
I know it's not possible right now.
Depends on the grant. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just I feel I have so many interests, and each year, almost before the pandemic, I try to run the trip to different destinations and different themes every year. Like so my next trip actually is going to the Silk Road. Yeah, but yeah, but I can definitely share a lot of resources. It's just a wonderful trip and opportunities. I start to really develop a lot of professional relationship with Nanjing Normal University and Beijing 曹雪芹研究中心 So if any of you are interested in this kind of the experiential learning, I would love to share all this resource with you. I think they are also eager to host our students as well. Yeah. Thank you, Laurie.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, hopefully one day you are going to make the trip, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we will try to get this recording all set up on our YouTube channel and have it to everyone very soon.
Yeah.
And maybe someday we can welcome Professor Sun to our campus as well. So
yeah, thank you
right.
again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep in
Bye-bye.
touch.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Bye-bye.